It is told that one day a poor man sat with his wife to tell her that he wanted to travel to provide for her and their small children. The man had searched for a suitable job in the village where they lived, but found nothing. His wife initially did not agree to his departure, but they finally agreed that the maximum duration of his travel would be 20 years, and if he did not return after that, she was free to do as she wished. The man traveled to a distant land and worked in a cloth shop for a kind man. The employer was happy with him because of his ethics, loyalty, and hard work. The man continued to work and earn money until the agreed-upon period was nearly over. Then he went to his employer and asked for permission to leave and return to his village and his wife. But the employer initially refused, saying, "I have grown accustomed to you. Please continue working for another year." The man informed him that he had promised his wife to return after exactly 20 years and could not be late. The employer understood his position and agreed to his request, but he was sad to see him go. He gave him a large bag full of money for his work all those years, then gave him 3 additional gold coins as a reward for his loyalty, saying, "These gold coins are also worth a good amount of money. Take them. It's not too much for you." The man took the bag of money and put it on his shoulder, placed the 3 gold coins in his pocket, and set off towards his village, returning home. On his way, he was met by 3 thieves who robbed passers-by and travelers. They stopped him and threatened, "Give us all the money you have, or we will take your life." The man asked them to leave him alone in exchange for giving them part of the money, but they refused and wanted to take all of it. The man thought with great sadness, "I was away from my wife and my home for 20 years to collect that money. How can I return without it? But what choice do I have? My life is the price." So he had no choice but to give them the bag. The thieves took the bag of money, mounted their horses, and quickly rode away, not noticing the 3 gold coins in his pocket. The man continued his journey, his heart filled with sadness, muttering to himself, "What will I tell my wife when I return? Should I say, 'I worked for 20 years for just 3 gold coins?'" On his way to the village, he met 3 passers-by, 2 young men and the third, an old sheikh. The man started talking to the young men, while the old sheikh stood looking at the birds in the sky, smiling and laughing without saying a word. The man asked the 2 young men, "Who is this sheikh?" They replied, "He is our father." The man said, "Why does he look at the sky and laugh and not talk to anyone?" They answered him, "He understands the language of the birds and listens to their cheerful chatter." The man said, "Does that prevent him from speaking?" The young men said, "Our father speaks, but every word he says has a price. He asks for a gold coin for every sentence he says." The man thought to himself, "I won't become poorer if I give that sheikh one of the gold coins I have left. He seems to speak only wisdom, and I want to listen to him." So he took a gold coin from his pocket and gave it to the sheikh in exchange for hearing one sentence. The old sheikh said, "Do not enter the river when it is raging." Then he fell silent. The man thought to himself, an old man who knows the language of birds and takes a gold coin for a couple of words. What will he tell me next time? And he decided to give him the second gold coin. He took it out of his pocket and gave it to him. The sheikh said, "Whenever you see birds circling and hovering in one place, go and discover what is happening." Then he fell silent. The man's desire to hear more grew, and he said to himself, "Perhaps the next sentence is worth more than its price." And he decided to give him the third and final gold coin. When the sheikh took the coin, he said to the man, "Do not rush or be hasty in judgment when you see something that angers you. Be patient and wait a little, for you might later see or hear something that pleases you." Then he fell silent. The man bid farewell to the two young men and their wise old father, the sheikh, and continued on his way to his village. He reached the bank of a river and wanted to cross, but the river was raging, carrying branches and trees in its current. The man remembered the first advice given to him by the wise sheikh, so he did not cross the river. Instead, he sat under a tree on the bank to eat and wait. While he was sitting, he saw a knight from afar riding a horse approaching him. The knight stopped in front of him and asked, "Why are you sitting here, man?" The man replied, "I cannot cross the river while it is raging like this." The knight answered arrogantly, "It's simple. Watch how I will cross." Then he spurred his horse into the river. As soon as he reached the middle of the river, the current swept him away, threw him into the water, and he drowned. The horse, however, managed to get out and return to the spot where it had entered. The man was amazed at what had happened and praised God. For had it not been for the sheikh's advice, he would have drowned too. Then he mounted the horse that had stayed nearby and set off to find a bridge to cross safely. After a short while, he found a wooden bridge and crossed the river. As he was riding the horse, he looked up at the sky and saw a group of vultures circling a nearby spot. He remembered the second advice the sheikh had given him, so he went to discover what was happening. When he reached the place, he saw something unexpected. He saw the three thieves who had taken his money lying dead next to a chest full of gold, and beside it was the bag of money they had taken from him. The thieves had collected this money from passers-by and travelers and had gone to this place to hide and divide the loot. They had sent one of them to bring food. Then the other two agreed to divide the gold and get rid of the third man upon his return. But the third man had also thought of betrayal, so he brought poisoned food. When he returned, his companions attacked and killed him, then sat down to eat the poisoned food. They died moments later, and so they all died. The man took his bag of money, took the gold from the chest, and put it in another bag he had with him, then mounted the horse and rode away from the place. The man continued his journey home, happy that his money had returned to him, along with the large amount of gold he had acquired. At sunset, he reached his house. Before opening the door, he thought of looking through the window to see his wife. He saw a scene that astonished him. he saw a table set with various dishes of food, and he saw a strange man sitting opposite his wife. The man was furious, and dark thoughts raced through his mind. He said to himself, "Didn't my wife promise me not to remarry until I returned? Is this betrayal?" In his moment of anger, he grabbed the sword he was carrying and decided to kill them both. But he suddenly stopped when he remembered the wise Sheikh's third advice. Do not rush or be hasty in judgment when you see something that angers you. Be patient and wait a little. So he waited. It wasn't long before he heard the strange man speaking to his wife, saying, "Tomorrow I will leave mother and go search for my father, for living without him has become very difficult." These words were like cool water on his heart. He realized that the young man he thought was a stranger was in fact his own son, who had grown up, whom he didn't recognize. The man felt intense remorse for what he had almost done. Then he entered his house. When his wife saw him, she was overjoyed and rushed to hug him. Meanwhile, the son ran towards his father, whom he had not seen since he was an infant, and the man hugged him, crying, thanking God for the blessing of patience that had saved him from disaster. The man sat with his son and his wife, and the house was filled with happiness. Then the son asked him, "Tell me, father, why were you away from us all these years? And what happened to you?" So the father told him his story from the time he left until his return. Then he emptied the bag of money and the bag of gold before them. The wife was amazed at what she saw and heard. Then the son said to his father, "What will you do with this money, father?" The father said, "I will buy a house and land." The son said, "The money is rightfully ours, because you worked for it, but the gold was stolen, and 3 men died because of it. It is a curse on whoever spends it. It is better that we donate all this gold, and the money will be enough for us. What you started, I will continue. For I learned from my mother during your absence how to earn my living through work, patience, and diligence." The father was delighted with his son's words and wisdom and donated all the gold. He always remembered the wise Sheikh's advice. Patience and not acting impulsively in anger saves us from many mistakes that make us feel regret when it is too late. Here ends today's story. May you remain in God's safety.